Ever feel like your vote doesn't really matter?
Yeah.
You know, like you're just one tiny voice in a sea of millions. I know I've been there.
Yeah, it's easy to feel that way.
But what if that feeling, that why bother attitude,
Right.
what if it's more than just a personal quirk? What if it's actually like a psychological phenomenon
Oh, yeah.
called learned helplessness?
Learned helplessness is fascinating, you know. It really shows how repeated negative experiences
That's for sure.
can make us feel powerless.
Yeah.
Even when we actually do have control.
Oh, interesting.
It's like trying to open a door, right? And it's locked, but there's a key right there in front of you.
Oh, yeah.
You've just given up on looking for it because you failed so many times before.
And get this.
Yeah.
Our deep dive today uncovered a mind-blowing fact about St. Petersburg, Florida.
Okay.
Apparently, only 8% of registered voters are needed to pass some laws.
Wow.
That's a shockingly small number, right?
Yeah.
It really highlights how low voter turnout can give a small, engaged minority a huge amount of power.
For sure.
So we've established that learned helplessness is a thing.
Yeah.
But how does it specifically mess with our voting behavior?
Well, imagine you're really passionate about a certain candidate or issue, right? You vote, you campaign, you shout your opinions from the rooftops.
Yeah.
But election after election, things just don't go your way.
Right.
And you start to think, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
The system is rigged against me. Nothing ever changes.
Totally.
That creeping sense of futility, that's learned helplessness, taking root.
So it's like that feeling when your favorite band never tours in your city. Eventually you just accept that you'll never see them live.
Yeah.
Even though there's always a sliver of hope
Right.
that they might announce a surprise show.
Exactly. And that resignation, it can spread to other areas of life too.
Oh, yeah.
Think about dating, right? If you've had a string of bad relationships, you might start to believe that finding lasting love is simply not in the cards for you.
Ooh, I feel seen. It's like that feeling of, why bother putting myself out there again? I'm just going to get hurt.
Right.
You start to resign yourself to being single, even if deep down you yearn for connection.
Right. And that's learned helplessness whispering in your ear. It convinces you that you lack control, even though you could, choose to approach dating differently or work on your own patterns to attract a healthier relationship.
So we're talking about a pattern of thinking that seeps into different areas of our lives. It's not just about feeling powerless politically. It's about feeling powerless, period.
Right.
But how can we tell if it's truly learned helplessness or just a reasoned decision to disengage?
That's a great question. It's important to distinguish between learned helplessness and rational disengagement.
Right.
Let's take the example of voting.
Okay.
Rational disengagement might sound like I've carefully researched all the candidates.
Yeah.
And none of them represent my values. So I'm consciously choosing not to vote for any of them.
Okay, so it's a deliberate choice based on principles, not a feeling of being trapped. So how does that translate to, say, choosing to be single?
Well, rational disengagement in relationships might be someone saying, I deeply value my independence and solitude.
Yeah.
And I've decided that being single is the best choice for me right now. It's a conscious choice aligned with their personal values.
So it's not about feeling unworthy of love or fearing rejection.
Right.
But rather a positive affirmation of a different path.
Exactly.
But here's something I'm wrestling with.
Okay.
Doesn't rational disengagement, while totally valid, run the risk of unintentionally strengthening the very systems it seeks to resist?
That's a thought-provoking point.
Right.
Let's say you're disillusioned with the two-party system and choose not to vote for either mate or candidate. While that's a valid personal choice, it does leave a vacuum that might be filled by those who don't share your values.
Right. Or taking the relationship example, if everyone who felt burned by past relationships chose to stay single,
Right.
wouldn't that ultimately limit the potential for positive change and growth
Yeah.
within the realm of relationships?
It's a fascinating dilemma.
Yeah.
And it highlights the complexities of navigating our feelings of powerlessness versus making intentional choices that align with our values.
Okay, so we've established that learned helplessness can impact our voting behavior and even our personal choices like relationships.
Right.
But how do we know if it's impacting us personally?
Yeah.
What are the signs?
Pay attention to your self-talk.
Okay.
Do you find yourself saying things like, my vote doesn't matter, politicians are all corrupt,
Yeah.
I'm just one person, I can't make a difference?
Ooh, those hit close to home? Or in the relationship realm, is it like thinking, all the good ones are taken?
Right.
Or I'm just not meant to be in a relationship?
Exactly. If you notice those thoughts popping up frequently, especially across different areas of your life, it's a sign that learned helplessness might be at play.
So it's like a red flag waving, signaling that we might be stuck in a cycle of negativity and self-doubt.
Precisely. And the good news is, once we recognize those patterns, we can start taking steps to break free.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. So how do we break free from this learned helplessness trap?
First, we need to remember that feeling powerless is a trap in itself.
Okay.
It's a mental construct, not an immutable reality.
Okay.
Think back to that St. Petersburg example.
Right, yeah.
A small group can make a huge difference.
Right.
Especially in local elections where margins are often razor thin.
So in a way, feeling powerless is like choosing to stay in a dark room, even though you have the power to flip the switch and turn on the light.
That's a great analogy. It's about recognizing that we do have agency even when it feels like we don't. It starts with shifting our mindset from I can't to I can, from what's the point to what if.
Okay, so we need to flip that mental switch. But what are some practical steps we can take to actually make a difference? Especially when it comes to feeling powerless in the face of something as massive as, say, national politics.
That's where understanding the power of small actions comes in.
Okay.
Instead of getting overwhelmed by the enormity of global issues, right?
Yeah.
Focus on tangible and achievable actions you can take in your immediate surroundings.
So instead of getting lost in the doom and gloom vortex of social media, we should focus on making a difference in our own backyards.
Exactly.
I like that. But how do we know that those small actions actually make a difference? Isn't it just wishful thinking?
It's not wishful thinking at all. Small actions have a ripple effect, creating positive change that extends far beyond our immediate circles. Think about the history of social movements.
Yeah.
They often start with small groups of individuals who refuse to accept the status quo.
Right.
And take action, even when it feels like an uphill battle.
This makes me think about the civil rights movement. It started with individuals like Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat on the bus.
Yes.
That one act of defiance sparked a movement that changed the course of history.
Exactly. And that's just one example.
Right.
Think about the women's suffrage movement, the fight for LGBTQ plus rights, the environmental justice movement. All of these movements were fueled by countless small acts of courage, compassion, and determination. Okay, so small actions can spark big change, but it still feels daunting. Where do we even start? Start by identifying your passions and values. Okay. What issues light you up? What kind of world do you want to live in? So it's not just about blindly following the crowd or doing what everyone else is doing. Right. It's about finding what truly resonates with us. Yeah. And taking action based on our own unique values and beliefs. Exactly. Once you've identified your passions, explore ways to get involved in your local community. Okay. Attend city council meetings. Volunteer with organizations that align with your values. Or even just start a conversation with someone who holds differing political views. So it's about finding our voice and using it to make a difference, even if it's just in our own small corner of the world. Precisely. And remember, every action, no matter how small, contributes to a larger collective effort. It's like weaving individual threads together to create a tapestry of change. Okay, that's a beautiful analogy. So we've talked about recognizing learned helplessness, right? Understanding its impact on our lives, and taking small actions to make a difference. Yes. But there's still this lingering feeling of, but what about the big picture? Right. What about the national issues that feel so far beyond our control? That's where reframing our relationship with voting comes in. Instead of viewing it as a chore or a burden, try seeing it as a privilege. Okay. And an opportunity to shape the world you want to live in. I love that. It's about reclaiming our power. Exactly. And recognizing that our votes do matter, even if they don't always lead to immediate or sweeping change. Exactly. And remember, voting isn't just about choosing a candidate. It's about supporting the policies and values that align with your vision for a better future. So it's about being intentional with our votes and recognizing that they represent our hopes and dreams for a better world. Absolutely. And it's about remembering that every vote counts, especially when voter turnout is low.
This makes me think about all the people throughout history who fought so hard for the right to vote. Women, people of color.
Yeah.
They faced incredible obstacles and risks to ensure that their voices could be heard. It's a reminder that voting is not something to be taken lightly.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful tool for change that we should cherish and exercise with intention.
Well said. Voting is not just a right, it's a responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a way to honor the legacy of those who fought so hard for us to have this privilege.
So instead of thinking, ugh, I have to go vote,
Right.
it becomes, I get to go vote.
Exactly. It's about shifting from a mindset of obligation to a mindset of empowerment.
Okay, I'm feeling fired up. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from recognizing the signs of learned helplessness to exploring strategies for breaking free from that cycle of negativity.
Yeah.
But what are some more specific, actionable steps our listeners can take to actually overcome this feeling and engage in the political process effectively?
That's a great question.
I want to make sure they walk away from this deep dive with a clear roadmap.
Great question. Let's explore some practical strategies for turning those intentions into reality. One of the most powerful things you can do is to challenge those negative thoughts head on,
Okay.
Instead of letting them fester and control your actions.
Right.
Put them on trial.
Like a mental courtroom drama.
Exactly.
I love it. So how do we cross-examine those negative thoughts?
When you catch yourself thinking, my vote doesn't matter,
Yeah.
or I'm just one person, what difference can I make?
Right.
Ask yourself, what evidence do you have to support those beliefs? Are there any examples that contradict them?
So it's like playing devil's advocate with our own negativity.
Yeah.
Are we basing our beliefs on facts? Or are we just letting fear and past experiences cloud our judgment?
Exactly. And often when we examine those thoughts more closely,
Yeah.
we realize they're not as solid as we initially thought.
Right.
Remember that statistic about St. Petersburg, Florida?
Yeah.
Only 8% of voters needed to pass certain laws.
Right.
That completely shatters the myth that one person can't make a difference.
It's a powerful reminder that our actions do matter, even if we don't always see the immediate impact. It's like planting a seed, right?
Yeah.
You don't see the tree grow overnight,
Right.
but with consistent care and attention, it eventually blossoms into something magnificent.
Absolutely. And it's important to celebrate those small victories along the way, too.
Yeah.
Each time you vote, you volunteer, or you speak up about an issue you care about, acknowledge the positive impact you're making, even if it's not immediately visible.
So it's like giving ourselves a mental high five for taking action.
Exactly.
I can get behind that. But what about those times when we feel completely overwhelmed by the state of the world? Like when we're bombarded with negative news and it feels like everything is falling apart.
Yeah.
How do we stay engaged and hopeful in those moments?
That's where it becomes crucial to curate your information diet.
Okay.
It's easy to get sucked into the negativity bias of the news cycle.
Right.
But it's important to balance that with positive and inspiring stories. Seek out news sources that focus on solutions and highlight the incredible work people are doing to make the world a better place.
So it's like choosing to nourish ourselves with healthy food instead of junk food.
Right.
We need to be mindful of the information we consume and make sure it's feeding our souls, not draining them.
Exactly. And just as a balanced diet includes a variety of foods,
Yeah.
a healthy information diet should include a mix of perspectives and viewpoints. Engage in respectful conversations with people who hold different opinions. It's a chance to broaden your understanding and maybe even find common ground.
I love that. It's about building bridges instead of walls.
Yeah.
Even when it's challenging. But sometimes those conversations can feel so draining, especially in our current political climate.
Right.
How do we avoid getting, burned out or discouraged?
That's where setting boundaries and prioritizing self-care comes in.
Okay.
It's okay to take breaks from social media,
Yeah.
to say no to events that feel overwhelming, or to simply step back and recharge when you need to.
So it's like recognizing that we can't pour from an empty cup. We need to take care of our own mental and emotional well-being if we want to show up fully for ourselves and for others.
Exactly. Self-care isn't selfish, it's essential.
Right.
It's about ensuring that we have the energy and resilience to continue showing up for the causes we care about.
This makes me think about the importance of community. Surrounding ourselves with supportive people who share our values
Yes.
can be such a powerful antidote to feeling helpless and alone.
Absolutely. Having a network of like-minded individuals
Yeah.
who inspire us, challenge us,
Yeah.
and celebrate our wins can make all the difference.
Yeah.
It creates a sense of shared purpose and collective power that can fuel our efforts and keep us going even when things get tough.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders on the sidelines, reminding us that we're not alone in this fight.
Yes.
And that we have the strength to keep going.
Precisely. And it's not just about receiving support, it's also about giving it.
Oh, yeah.
Offer encouragement to others who are struggling.
Yeah.
Celebrate their wins and create a space where everyone feels valued and heard.
So it's about fostering a culture of mutual support and empowerment, recognizing that we're all in this together. But what about those times when we feel like our efforts are insignificant, like we're just one drop in a vast ocean? How do we stay motivated when faced with the enormity of the challenges we're trying to address?
That's where remembering the power of collective action comes in. Each individual action, no matter how small, contributes to a larger movement for change.
It's like the butterfly effect. Even the smallest flap of a butterfly's wings can create a hurricane on the other side of the world.
Our actions have a ripple effect that extends far beyond what we can see or imagine.
Yeah.
And when we combine our efforts with others who share our values, we create a force for change that's far more powerful than the sum of its parts.
So it's not about being a lone wolf trying to change the world single-handedly,
Right.
but rather about joining forces with others and working together to create a better future.
That's the beauty of collective action. It allows us to leverage our individual strengths and passions to create a collective impact that's truly transformative.
Okay, so we've talked about challenging negative thoughts, curating our information diet,
Yes.
prioritizing self-care, and building community.
Yes.
These are all fantastic strategies for combating learned helplessness.
Absolutely.
But are there any specific tools or resources that our listeners can use to put these strategies into practice?
Absolutely. Let's explore some practical tools and techniques that can help you break free from feeling powerless and step into your full potential.
Okay, so we've talked about all these amazing strategies for overcoming learned helplessness, but I'm all about practical steps.
Right.
What are some specific tools or resources our listeners can use to actually put these ideas into action?
Okay.
Give us the good stuff.
One incredibly powerful tool is mindfulness.
Oh, okay.
By paying attention to our thoughts and feelings without judgment, we can start to recognize those negative thought patterns that keep us feeling stuck.
So it's like becoming a detective of our own minds.
Yeah.
Like observing those, my vote doesn't matter, or I'll always be single thoughts, without letting them drag us down.
Exactly. There are tons of apps and guided meditations out there that can help you develop a mindfulness practice. Even just taking a few minutes each day to focus on your breath and observe your thoughts can make a huge difference.
Mindfulness check. What else?
Another helpful tool is journaling.
Oh, yeah.
Writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you process them in a healthy way and identify any recurring patterns of negativity.
Journaling can be so therapeutic. It's like having a conversation with yourself on paper.
Right.
And it can be especially helpful for tracking our progress over time, right?
Right.
Seeing how far we've come can be a huge motivator.
Absolutely. You can even use your journal to create a gratitude list.
Oh, yeah.
Focusing on all the things you're grateful for in your life. This can help shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance.
Right.
Reminding you of all the good that already exists.
Love it. Gratitude is such a powerful practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got mindfulness, journaling, gratitude. Any other tools in our arsenal?
Affirmations are another great tool for rewiring those negative thought patterns. By consciously repeating positive statements to yourself, you can start to reprogram your subconscious mind and replace those limiting beliefs with empowering ones.
So instead of I'm not good enough, it becomes I am worthy and capable of achieving my goals.
Exactly.
I can see how that would be helpful. Right. Especially in those moments when self-doubt creeps in.
Exactly. It's about creating a new narrative for yourself.
Right.
One that's based on self-love, confidence, and possibility.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of visualization.
Oh, yeah.
Take some time each day to visualize yourself, taking action, achieving your goals, and living the life you desire.
I'm a big believer in visualization.
Yeah.
It's like creating a mental blueprint for success. But sometimes, even with all these tools, we still need a little extra support.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to reach out for help when you need it.
Yeah.
Therapists, coaches, and support groups can provide a safe and supportive space to work through those feelings of helplessness and develop strategies for creating positive change in your life.
So it's like having a personal trainer
Right.
for our minds, helping us build those mental muscles and overcome those self-limiting beliefs. And remember, reaching out for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Exactly. It takes courage to acknowledge that we need support and to seek out the resources that can help us thrive. And don't underestimate the power of connection.
Yeah.
Spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones,
Right.
pursuing hobbies that bring you joy. These activities can all nourish your soul and replenish your energy.
So it's about creating a life that feels aligned with our values and passions, both in the political realm and in our personal lives.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot where our actions and beliefs are in harmony and where we feel empowered to make a positive difference in the world.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. We've covered so much ground, from understanding the psychology of learned helplessness to exploring practical strategies for overcoming it.
It's been great.
But as we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the power of small actions. It can be easy to get overwhelmed by the enormity of the challenges we face. But it's important to remember that every single action we take, no matter how small, contributes to a larger collective effort.
Well said. Think of it like this. Each time you vote, volunteer, donate to a cause you care about, or simply have a conversation with someone who holds a different viewpoint, you're casting a vote for the kind of world you want to live in.
It's like we're each holding a piece of the puzzle, and when we come together and share our unique perspectives and talents, we can create a picture that's far more beautiful and complete than anything we could have imagined on our own.
Exactly. And remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It's an ongoing process that requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to keep showing up, even when it feels challenging.
So to our listeners out there, don't underestimate the power of your voice, your actions, and your belief in the possibility of a better world. Embrace the journey, celebrate the small wins, and never give up on the fight for a future where we all thrive.
The world needs your unique gifts and contributions. Step into your power, embrace the unknown, and let's create a future we can all be proud of.
And that, my friends, is the most powerful antidote to learned helplessness. The unwavering belief in our collective ability to create a world that's more just, equitable, and joyful for all.